So welcome. Please make your way into a very comfortable seat. Very comfortable meaning that you're well supported underneath and that you can lengthen the torso without unnecessary effort. And then with your hands, turn your thighs in, pull the flesh of the buttocks slightly back and away from the sitting bones. But if that's a sensitive area, if you're working with any hamstring insertion things, then really don't do that action very much, if at all. And then sink the buttocks down, weight the knees down, and place the fingertips at your sides. Lightly push down with the fingertips to lengthen the size of the torso and to pick the whole rib cage up away from the pelvis. So lift the back ribs away from the back of the pelvis and the front ribs away from the front of the pelvis while keeping the bottom front ribs knit in a bit toward the center. Just lightly move the tops of the upper arm bones back, take the head back, and then place your hands lightly up or down on your legs. Take a breath or two. And use these first couple of breaths to fully arrive for your practice. I'm reading a book it's a new book called Breathe, and it's about the science and evolution of breathing. And I'm not through it, I'm just way in. And what it seems to be saying is that as we have evolved as humans, our breath capacity has diminished, and especially in the current time, since the industrial age, our capacity to fully breathe is limited, has been limited. And yet, at the same time, we can, regardless of age, gender, activity level, fitness, weight, any of these other factors, we can significantly shift our breathing. The author uses an example of Greek freedivers and a group that are a collection of people from a variety of professional and unprofessional backgrounds, various ages, men and women, and various levels of physical capacity and health, and that they've all trained to be able to free dive to several hundred feet and hold their breath for up to 12 minutes. So a lot of what they're using are things that we already know. Techniques from the ancient traditions, including the yoga tradition. And one of the key things that he's saying so far, and like I said, I'm just early into the book, but one of the key things, which we also know, but just to emphasize, is the significance of breathing in and out through the nose versus simply doing that begins the process of shifting our capacity to breathe, overall lung health and overall and longevity and overall general health as a consequence of our breathing. So we're going to simply use that as the theme to invite our practice this morning to expand and deepen the connection to the breath. On a scientific level, that promotes, like I said, physical health and longevity, and on a non-scientific yet level, it links us to the unseen forces in the world, movement that creates, sustains, and eventually dissolves. So with that in mind, please close your eyes. And perhaps notice that just from hearing me speak about the breath and starting to tune into the breath has shifted. That shift may or may not be the breath. as you notice that, relax the jaw. Soften the lips. And then become aware of the breath moving in and out through the nose. Gently, without adding tension, and it's may not be appropriate here at the beginning of the practice, so I'll work very gently with the breath. But now, if it's comfortable for you, gently lengthen the breath in and the breath out. As the breath lengthens, as best you can, match the inhale and the exhale. And then with your next exhale, join your hands together at your heart. To initiate the practice and to also invite a deeper breath, we'll chant Om once. So take a full inhale. And then gently bow your head to your heart. Release your hands, lift your head, and then come down onto your back. Support the head with a blanket. And first, again, tune into the breath in a few different ways. So, bend your knees, place your feet on the ground. Lengthening the back of the neck can be helpful here. And then tuck the shoulders under without squeezing the shoulder blades toward the spine. So really you're just rolling the trapezius muscles down on the back. But feel the width across the upper back. Keeping a small curve behind the navel up away from the ground. Bring the entire back ribs to the floor. Release the jaw and the eyes. And now we're going to take the breath deliberately on the back of the torso. So keeping the jaw relaxed and the eyes soft as you inhale. Feel the back of the rib cage come more in contact with the ground. Exhale. Long, slow, steady breath in. Take the back ribs and the shoulder blades down onto the floor more. The inhale, and then exhale. Release. 2 or 3 more breaths here like this. As best you can, relax fully, which is really interrelated to ease of breath. One more time here. And if you like, you can put your hands on the front lower ribs. And the next thing we're going to do is ask the rib cage to expand out side to side. So don't worry about anything else. You can let go of your attention on the back of the body now. And then as you inhale, take the rib cage out side to side. Go as wide as possible, and then exhale, slow, steady breath out. As best you can, match the length of the inhale and the length of the exhale. Two more. Last one. Now put your hands up at the top of the chest, just beneath the collarbones. And then the last thing we're going to do is try to lift and widen the collarbones as much as possible at the end of the inhale. So, with the next breath in, bring the breath up into the upper part of the chest, and really lift up and widen the upper chest. Exhale. Long, slow, steady breath out. Keep the jaw relaxed, the eyes quiet. A few more times. Inhale. Bring the breath all the way up into the upper chest, right under the collarbones. Don't feel movement there, simply imagine movement. This can be a place that's harder to access for some of us. Last one. Exhale. Just notice the breath now, without trying to change it or move it in any direction. Now for a breath or two, just see if you can contact all of those three things. So the breath, the inhale moving in the back, creating width, and lifting the collarbones. So do a couple of breaths here like this. And then last one. From here, Supta Padangusthasana. Stretch the left leg straight on the ground. Point the knee and the foot up and press the back of the left thigh down. Draw the right knee toward the chest. Interlace the hands behind the back of the thigh for a moment. And then keeping the weight even across the back of the pelvis and a hollow behind the lower back. Stretch the right leg straight. Press the right thigh bone into the hands as you press the left thigh bone into the ground. Lengthen from the inner groin to the inner knee on both legs, and then from the inner knee to the inner heel. Press out through the base of the big toe on the right foot. And now if it's available to you, perhaps draw the right leg in more, and maybe take the hands up to hold the calf, the ankle, or the outside of the foot or the big toe. So it's the beginning of the practice. Work in a way that allows some sense of the movement of the breath that you were just connected with. So long, slow, steady breaths. One more breath. And then bend the right leg, put the right foot on the ground, change sides, so extend the right leg straight. With the knee and the foot pointing up, press the back of the right thigh down, maintain that. Draw the left leg in. Take the hands behind the left thigh. Stretch the left leg straight. Turn the inner thighs toward the backs of the legs. So roll the inner thighs toward the backs of the legs on both sides of the body, both legs. Lengthen both legs from the inner groins to the inner knees, the inner knees to the inner heels. Press out through the base of the big toes. Maybe now draw the left leg in toward the torso, and maybe take the hands further up the leg if you did that on the first side. More importantly, work in a way that serves the breath, so that the movement of the body and the sensations of stretch are not so intense and make the breath become erratic. One more breath. And then bend that leg, release. Stretch the left leg straight, half happy baby pose. So with the left leg straight as you had it on the Supta Pangustasana position, draw the right knee toward the chest. As you hug the right knee toward the chest, take the right arm on the inside of the knee, catch the baby toe side of the foot, and bring the foot up just over the knee so the shin is perpendicular to the ground. Now keeping the right knee in toward the right side of the torso, draw the right knee down toward the ground. At the same time, glue the back of the left thigh down. Soften the jaw and the eyes. And take the right knee down toward the ground, just to the outside of the right armpit. One more breath. Exhale, release that leg, change sides. So right leg straight. Left leg in. Take the left hand to the inside of the knee, catch the baby toe side of the foot. Bring the foot up over the knee. Keeping the back of the right thigh down and the right inner knee spinning toward the ground. Use your left arm and the strength of your left leg to draw the left knee down to the outside of the left armpit. Breathe and really pay attention to tension arriving in the jaw and in the breath. And see if you can keep some sense that the breath is moving in the back in the sides of the torso, maybe a little less in the upper chest, that too if it's possible, but especially the back and the sides. One more breath. And then exhale. Last thing on the back, we're going to do full happy baby pose, but in two different orientations. So draw the knees in to the sides of the torso. So the knees are just, 6 inches apart or so. And then take the feet up over the knees. Make sure that the back of the pelvis stays on the ground, and even though the lower back is weight bearing, or is on the ground here, it's not weight bearing. Then take the hands to the outsides of the knees. Hold either the shins or the ankles, or maybe catch the big toe sides of the feet. Keep the knees squeezed in just as wide as the sides of the torso. So your upper arms hold the knees in place. Make the outsides of the feet, the outside edges of the feet parallel the long edges of the mat. So you're not letting your feet turn. And then draw the knees down toward the ground. They might not go very far, but just notice the effort it's taking to keep the feet parallel and to draw the knees down in this way. One more breath. Exhale, release. And then we'll do the more familiar version. So take the arms on the insides of the knees. So the knees will go a little wider and the feet will turn out here. So you take your toes out wider than your heels. And then use your arms and draw the knees down. They're a little wider to the sides of the torso, but not super wide. Feel the weight across the back of the pelvis and into the back of the rib cage. Invite the breath to move there. Soften the throat and the jaw. 2 more breaths. And then exhale, release. Roll all the way to your right side and come over into extended child's pose. Just for a couple of breaths in preparation for downward facing dog. Blanket for your knees, take a blanket. Touch the big toes. Take the knees as wide as the sides of the torso. And then walk the hands out and bring your forehead down to the support. Shifting the weight back onto the heels or near the heels. We're going to do this to create a little more length in the sides of the body. So now weight the hips down to the heels and then come high up on the fingertips, tenting your hands. Weighting the buttocks down to the heels. Now lift the ribs, the whole entire rib cage away from the pelvis. Lengthen the sides of the torso and spider walk your hands forward. Away. Micro bend the elbows and turn the triceps toward the sides of the face. And then really lengthen from the outer hips to the bottom of the ribs on the sides of the body, and then along the sides of the rib cage into the armpits. Keeping the lift in the underside of the arms and that length, place the hands flat. Notice you'll lose that, but keep it as best you can. And then come onto the hands and knees, tuck the toes under, exhale, downward facing dog. Take the feet a little wider so that they're almost as wide as your mat. Keeping the weight on the inside edges of the hands. Slightly bend the elbows and wrap the triceps toward the face. Lift the undersides of the arms up. And now so pull the hips back away from the hands. Create as much length as possible on that side line of the torso from the outer hips
to the armpits. And then, keeping that, press the tops of the thigh bones back and spin the inner groins toward the wall behind you. Hug the buttocks in just enough to hold the area, the muscles around the sitting bones, into the bones there. And then one more breath. Looking forward, walk the hands to the feet to the hands. And in the first standing forward bend Uttanasana, maybe take the feet a little wider apart so that you can really hang down in between the legs. Make the outside edges of the feet parallel your mat. And then with the sitting bones right up over the heels, so the backs of the legs are straight. Spin the inner knees toward the wall behind you. Turn the inner thighs back. The inner groins back toward the wall behind you, and lightly widen the sitting bones. Hug the outer hips in just enough to protect the hamstring insertions, right where the muscles in the backs of the legs, the bones of the pelvis. And then peel the belly, and now fold the torso fully down and get as much length again on the sides of the body as possible. So you feel the bottom ribs lift away from the outer hips. You feel space expand between the ribs. And stretch the crown of the head to the ground. One more breath. Bending the knees a little bit, put the hands on the hips, lift the chin. Inhale, stand up. Exhale. Standing spread leg forward bend, Prasarita Padottanasana. So facing the long edge of the mat, step the feet wide apart. Line up the toes. You can use the edge of your mat to place your heels on if that's helpful. And then put your hands on your hips. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, fold halfway over, place the hands on the ground under the shoulders. We're first going to walk the hands out away from us. So keeping the outer edges of the feet parallel, the short edges of the mat. Firm the thighs. Spin the inner knees and the inner groins toward the wall behind you. And then anchor the sitting bones down into the center of the heel. Keeping that, walk your hands out and release the torso between your arms. So just like in child's pose, come up high on the fingertips. Micro bend the elbows. Spin the triceps down toward the ground. And then lifting the undersides of the arms, walk the hands away from you without shifting the hips forward from their alignment over the heels. Then keeping the hips back and anchoring the sitting bones into the heels, lengthen again the sides of the body. See if you can feel the breath expand the rib cage, creating more space in the rib. Now keeping that length on the sides of the torso, walk the hands back in between your feet and extend the crown of the head down toward the ground. Perhaps touch. Keep your fingers pointing forward like your toes. If your head is down toward the ground or close, bend the elbows. Point the elbows straight back toward the wall behind you. And with the upper arms parallel each other, lift the shoulder blades away from the ears. Feel the breath move in the back of the torso in particular. Lift the head and shoulders, walk the hands and shoulders. Heel toe your feet in a step or two. Firm the legs, hands to your hips. Up, exhale, and then inhale, step the feet together. Stand with the big toes touching for a moment. And then stretch the left arm out that shoulder height. So we're gonna work internal rotation of the arms. Sometimes that's a little tricky, especially in the rotator cuff. So if you've got any there, work very carefully here. So with the arm out to the side, palm facing down, now turn at the shoulder joint so that the palm rotates back toward the wall behind you. Then bend the elbow and the back of your hand against your back. If it's possible, walk your elbow in toward the side of the body and take your left hand straight up so that the fingertips point toward the head. Lengthen the size of the torso and lightly take the head of the upper arm bone back, but move the elbow back faster. Feel your back against your hand. Now round the torso forward a little bit. Release the arm down to your side. Stretch the right arm out at shoulder height. Rotate at the shoulder joint. Turn the whole arm so that the palm faces back. Bend the elbow. Place the back of the hand on the back of the body. Maybe stay there. Maybe walk the hand more up toward the back of the neck, drawing your right elbow toward the spine, toward the side of the body, more accurately. Then lengthen the right side of the torso so that the shoulders stay square, and lightly move the top of the upper arm bones back, and take the elbow back. Feel your hand press against your back. And then round the torso forward, release that arm to your sides. Reverse prayer position. So if you know that that's already too much, you're just simply gonna catch your elbows behind you. So if it works, reverse prayer position, take both arms out, rotate both arms at the shoulder joint, hands behind you. So right now, I've placed the backs of my hands on the body with the fingers pointing down. You could stay there, or you can rotate the hands, bringing the elbows forward to do that. Rotate the hands so that the fingers face up, and then bring the palms together, taking the elbows back. If it's available to you, walk your hands more up so that the heels of the pinky fingers are right behind the back of the heart. Then inhale, step or hop the feet apart. Kurmasana, pyramid pose. Spin your left foot in 60 degrees. Rotate your right leg and foot out. Wherever you are, take the elbows toward the back of the body. Press into your left heel. Inhale, curl the heart up. As you curl the heart up, if your pinky finger, the heel of your pinky fingers are there, you'll kind of lean back into that spot, and that place will dig forward. Then anchoring the big toe of the right foot, exhale, fold forward over the right leg. Spin the inner thighs toward the wall behind you, especially turning the left inner thigh back. And then press the inner thigh and the left leg out, away from the midline of the body. Anchor the big toe side of the right foot from your right thigh. Lining your right sitting bone to your right heel. Now lengthen the torso as best you can. And then lift the center of the heart and the upper chest toward your big toe, so that there's a little lift in the upper chest, and then take your chin toward your shin. Pushing into both heels, inhale all the way up, exhale, turn the feet, roll the shoulders forward, release the arms, stretch the arms to the side for a moment, and then down. And step the feet together, and we'll do the second side. So reverse prayer position again, or hold the other elbow. So arms to the sides, rotate the shoulders forward, turning the upper arms internally in the shoulder sockets. Then place the backs of the hands against the back of the pelvis, either stay there or walk the fingertips up, join the palms together. Once you're in position, take the elbows back. Move your head lightly back, and then step or hop the feet wide apart. Spin your right leg and foot in 60 degrees. Turn your left leg and foot out. Anchor your back heel on the big toe side of your front foot. And now as you inhale, curl the center of the heart up. And again, there's a feeling that you're leaning back and over your fingers. And then exhale, fold forward. As you come forward over your front leg, plant the outside edge of the back foot and the inside edge of the front foot. Turn the inner thighs toward the wall behind you, but especially the right one. As you spin the right inner thigh toward the wall behind you, also move it out, away from the midline. Line your left sitting bone to your left heel. Scoop up the low belly, and now as you lengthen the sides of the torso, lift the upper chest, that collarbone area, forward toward your left toes. Then lower the chin toward the shin, but without collapsing that upper part of the torso. If you could take the breath there, the end of the inhale there, do that for the last breath. And then planting your heels, inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet. Release the arms. Inhale, step the feet together. Standing spread leg, forward bend, Prasarita Padottanasana a second time. So inhale, step or hop the feet really wide apart. And again, line up the toes. This is a place where you can use the back edge of the mat as a heel marker if you like. Put the hands in the hips. Take a breath in. Exhale, fold forward. Place the hands under the shoulders. So if it's helpful for you to get the hands out away from you first, do that. In fact, you could just stay there. If you have the availability to fold right over and place the crown of the head on the ground, do that. Then place your hands so that the fingers point forward like the toes and the elbows are bent. Now plant the inside and outside edges of the feet evenly. Turn the inner thighs toward the wall behind you, but anchor the sitting bones down to the heels. Extend the crown of the head toward the ground. So option one is you stay here, and if you're forward, you can stay forward. Option two is Prasarita Padottanasana 2, which is the hands in reverse prayer position. So for that, the head needs to be supported. If your head is supported, then one at a time, take your hands up, rotate the upper arms internally in the shoulder sockets, and join the palms of the hands together behind you. Where the bottom of the fingers touch the spine, if it's around the back of the heart area, move the spine in and reach the center of the heart in the direction of your gaze. One more breath. If you have placed your hands in reverse prayer position, Paschima Namaskar, place your hands on the ground. Lift your head and shoulders up. Step your feet, heel toe in 1 or 2 steps. And then hands to the hips, lift the chin. Inhale, up. Exhale. Feet face the short edge of the mat. Uttanasana, standing forward bend. So have the toes pointing forward. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, Uttanasana. As you come over, touch your fingertips to the ground and keep the sitting bones right over the heels. Firm the thighs. Spin the inner knees back toward the wall behind you. Turn the inner groins back toward the wall behind you. Widen the upper inner thighs away from the midline, but then hold the muscles around the sitting bones firm. So you're not creating unnecessary tension right at the sitting bones. Scoop up the low belly. And now fold the torso deeply down over the legs. Bend the knees a bit. Really, as you bend your knees, wiggle your front
bottom ribs forward along your thighs toward your knees. Then take your hands around, catch the backs of your heels with your hands, and bending the elbows so that the points face back toward the wall behind you. Squeeze the arms toward the legs. Reach the crown of the head down toward the big toes. And now you can stay with your legs bent, folded forward, or maybe here, stretch the legs straighter. Keep spinning the inner thighs toward the wall behind you and firming the muscles right around the sitting bones. Breathe. Notice the breath move more in the back of the torso. Bend the knees a bit, release the hands, put your hands on your hips, lift your chin. Inhale, come up. Exhale. We're going to do standing splits, Urdhva Prasarita Ekapadasana. So maybe have your feet a little closer together. And then with the toes pointing forward, take a breath in, exhale, fold forward. Touch your fingertips to the ground. And now stand on your right foot. So anchor the base of the big toe, the inner heel, and make the outer edge of the foot sharp. Step the left foot back just a foot and come right up on the tips of the toes. Now, turn the torso a little bit to the right and folds more deeply over your right leg. Take your hand out to the right, fingers pointing forward. And then take your left hand, it's very similar to how we just had it. Hold the back of your right ankle with your left hand and squeeze your left elbow toward your right shin. So you can bend your right knee as you need to. Now turn the inside of the left leg up toward the sky and leading from the inside edge, lift the left leg up. As you lift the left leg up, use your hands to help balance you. Extend the crown of the head toward the ground. Really lift the back leg as straight up in the air as you can get it, leading from the inside edge of the leg. One more breath. And then exhale, touch that foot down, release the left hand. Come back to Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Now, other side. So take the left hand a little bit to the left, fingers pointing forward. Step your right foot back. Come onto the tips of the toes. Spin the low belly to the left and place your torso more over your left leg. And then take the right hand, catch the back of the ankle with your right hand and squeeze your right elbow toward your left shin. Then anchoring into the left foot and the left hand, lift your right leg up, lead the inside edge of the leg more up, release your head down. Breathe. Even though balance is tricky, even though this is has a lot of challenges, focus on breathing and making the breath as slow as possible. Last breath. And then touch the right foot to the ground. Undo all of that. Place your hands flat on the mat in front of you. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Kurmasana. Inhale. Exhale, step or lightly hop back. Take a couple of breaths here. Anchor the inside edges of the hands. Turn the triceps toward the face. Pull the hips as far back away from the hands as you can get them. And feeling that length on the sides of the torso, turn the inner thighs toward the wall behind you. Anchor the sitting bones to the heels. And then breathe. Take full, fluid, stable breaths.
with your next exhale, bend your knees to the ground. Just for a moment, turn over and lie on your back. So support the head as needed. And then lying on your back, bend your knees, place your feet on the ground, touch the knees together to touch. Take the feet out. You can put your hands on your belly, on your ribs, or just off to the sides with the palms turned up. Keeping a small curve in the back in the lower back, so the lower back curves away from the ground. Weight the back of the pelvis and the back of the rib cage down. And then become aware of the breath. Just like we did earlier, see if you can take the breath into the back of the rib cage, into the sides, and up under the collarbones even. Breathe in and out through the nose. And focus on long, slow, steady breaths, evening out the inhale and the exhale as best you can, without being rigid about that. Now, after the next exhale, we're going to add a pause at the top of the breath in. So when you're ready, take a full, long, slow, steady breath in. Keep the throat and the jaw relaxed, the eyes soft. And at the top of the breath in, pause. Exhale, long, slow, steady breath out. Two more times like this. Inhale, long, slow, steady breath in. Pause. Exhale, long, slow, steady breath out. Moving the breath through the nose and being not to gasp or push the exhale out. Gasp the inhale. One more time. Inhale, long, slow, steady, deep, wide, long breath. Pause. Exhale. At the end of the exhale, roll over to your right side. Sit up. You can move the blanket to the side. Navasana boat pose. So with the knees bent and the feet on the ground, maybe move the flesh away from the sitting bones a little bit. Take your hands, wrap them around the backs of the thighs. Lift the chest. Now, really lift the upper part of the chest right under the collarbones, that place that you were breathing into at the beginning of the practice, and keeping that lift. Lean back and bring your shins parallel to the ground or stretch the legs straight. Turn the inner thighs with your hands. So you're pulling the inner thighs toward the short edge of the mat in front of you and also apart. Extend out through the inner heels, release the shoulder blades, and then lift the collarbones, lift the upper chest. One more breath. And then exhale and come down. We're going to repeat this a couple of times. So adjust the legs as needed. For the second one, catch the backs of the legs again, lift the chest. Really feel that lift right in the upper chest at the collarbones with the throat and the jaw relaxed. Then lean back, Stretch the legs straight, or keep them bent if that works better for you. Turn the inner thighs forward. Reach out through the base of the big toes. Lift the upper chest. Now, either stay here or release the arms to the sides. Pull from the fingertips into the shoulder sockets and use the work in the arms to help lift the upper chest. One more breath. And then exhale. Bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. We'll do one more. So it's like you're shortening the arms, and that action of shortening the arms helps to lift the upper chest. So keep that in mind for the last one. So after you've adjusted the legs, holding the backs of the thighs if you like, bring the legs up. Balance. And turn the inner thighs and the inner knees toward the short edge of the mat in front of you. Reach out through the big toes. Drop the shoulder blades. Maybe release the arms. Pull the upper arm bones into the shoulder sockets and lift the upper chest. Look toward your toes. 2 more breaths. Exhale and come down. Stretch turn to face the long edge of the mat and separate the legs wide apart. So, seated, spread leg, forward bend. We're not going to fold forward right now. So assess if the lower back rolls toward the wall behind you and you're on the back of the sitting bones, then sit up on support. With your hands, turn your thighs and your knees in. So you're really right on the center of the backs of the legs. And have the outside edges of the feet pointing straight up. Take your arms to your sides and press the backs of the thigh bones down and turn the inner knees down. When we ground the thigh bones, when the tops of the thighs settle down into the hips, down in this direction, into the back of the hip sockets, there's some release in the breath. Then, with the hands at the sides, pick the rib cage up. The back and the sides and the upper chest. The back, the sides, and the front of the rib cage away from the pelvis and lift the upper chest. Then keeping the left leg straight like this, bend the right leg in. Have the right foot point out in the direction of that leg. So we're doing a variation of Marichalsana 1. So with the right leg bent, the right sitting bone will get light on the ground. That's totally fine. Stretch the left leg straight. So option 1 is you're going to take your right arm on the inside of the leg and then walk both arms forward. Option 2, bind with the right arm. So if you're able to do the internal rotation with the right arm, then stretch the right arm out on the inside of the knee and turn the whole arm so that the palm faces out, just like we did earlier in the Paschima Namaskar action, reverse prayer. And then reach the fingertips toward the wall behind you. Maybe stay here, maybe take the left hand behind you and clasp your left hand with your right hand. So the forward bend is not going to happen so much here. So just fold forward some amount. And you can rock a little bit back and forward, back and forward. Make sure that you're not feeling pressure on the front of your right shoulder. And then unwrap the arms, come up, stretch that leg out. Upavishta Kurmasana shape. So keeping the right leg in position. So again, you can turn the right thigh and the calf. You're right on the back of the leg. Bend the left leg in. So the left heel comes to the sitting bone. The foot still points out in the same direction. So it's a simple bend straight in from there. Then with the left hand on the inside of the leg, both hands forward and simply come forward some amount there. Or take the left arm out, rotate the whole arm at the shoulder so that the palm turns turns back. And with the upper arm in front of your left shin, bend the elbow. Walk the hand behind you. Maybe take the other hand back and hold your shirt, your pants, fingertips, or perhaps catch your right wrist with your left hand. Descend the shoulder, especially the left away from the left ear. And then some amount, you're just going to come forward a little bit. It's not about that action. It's about the binding of the arm, or the rotation of the arm. And then inhale, come up. Release the left hand, the right hand, and then the left. The next position is Malasana, the squat. So if that doesn't work for your knees, then you can do all of this seated on a chair. Sitting on the chair, you're going to sit, or on some piece of furniture, with your feet wide apart and the toes pointing slightly out. If you're able to come into Malasana, the squat position, consider whether you need support for your heels. I do. And use your blanket to support the heels as needed, and then come down into the position. Big toes touch, heels support. Take the knees as wide as the outsides of the body. So this is very similar to Happy Baby Pose, the work that we did at the beginning. So as you take your knees to the sides of the body, walk your arms out and come forward. The Happy Baby Pose would be another option if you don't want to sit in a chair and you're not doing the squat because of the knees. So now, walking your hands, come up on the fingertips. Lift the undersides of arms and anchoring the sitting bones toward the heels. Lengthen the sides of the body as much as possible. So you could just stay here. Option 2 is to take the hands wider apart, so off the mat. And then as you take the hands off the mat, stretch the arms straighter. Turn the arms internally in the shoulders, shoulder sockets, and rotate the arms so that the palms face more up. Bend the elbows, and then reach around, catch the backs of the ankles. Press the legs into the backs of the arms, and the arms into the front of the shins. Lengthen the front of the torso some amount, and then release the head and fold down. Breathe. As best you can, work in a way that allows for a long, steady, fluid movement of the breath. One more breath. Lift the head and shoulders up. Bring the knees together. And then sit down and for a moment stretch the legs out in front of you. So from here we're going to do Mari 3. So that's the seated twist. Sitting on support is helpful here to get the lift in the back that keeps the width across the front of the chest. So I suggest that you sit up on something unless you have a lot of mobility in this position. So sitting on your pillow, stretch the legs straight out in front of you. Bend the right leg in toward your right sitting bone, and take the left leg a bit to the left. And then turn the left thigh and the left knee strongly in. Your right hand to the outside of your right leg. Inhale, stretch your left arm up. Lean back a little bit so that you can tip the knee in toward the midline of the body. And then your hand, take your left arm across the knee, to the outside of the knee. And work, then wrap it around. Crossover, but instead of turning the palm up like we usually do, Instead, reach your left hand toward your right upper arm. Internal rotation of the left arm in the shoulder joint. Then take your right hand behind you, fingers pointing away. Now bring your right knee back up to center. Twist to the left. So your left hand can be on your chest or kind of on your right shoulder. Press the knee into the arm. Lengthen that side of the torso. Turn the head. Turn the gaze. One more breath. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, release. So bend the left leg in. Take the right leg to the right, about 45 degrees or so, and then turn the right thigh and the right knee in. And then hold the left knee with the left hand. And so you're going to tip the left knee across the midline. Stretch the right arm up. Either wrap around or if you can, cross over. And as you cross over, take the right hand to the left side of the chest, left upper arm somewhere there, and then take the left hand behind you. Now turn the right thigh in, and as you turn the right thigh in, bring the left knee upright. Drawing the left side of the right side of the rib cage against the left thigh. Stretch up through the crown of the head, and then as you exhale, twist. Breathe. One more breath. Inhale, back to center. Exhale, unwrap, stretch both legs out straight. So we're going to repeat that with the option of binding. So the bind is highly unnecessary. And again, be a little cautious if you're already doing too much of the internal rotation for the rotator cuff. But just so you understand that wrapping, a bit more of the internal rotation, and then we cross over, but we maintain that. And then that's the same position for the bind. So the arm doesn't change, it's just the relationship of the hand that is different. So bend the right leg in, take the left leg out to the left a bit, turn the left inner thigh and inner knee down. Hold the right knee with the right hand, stretch the left arm up, inhale. Exhale, either wrap or take the arm across the leg. As you take the arm across the leg, you can repeat the version that you did on the first side. If it's possible, when you take the arm across, you're already in the internal rotation, and then you just take the hand to the inside of the right shin. So now my left palm is facing out, and then take the right hand around and catch fingertips, wrists, shirts, something. Now wherever you are, turn the left thigh in, bring your right knee upright. Lengthen the right side of the torso. Roll your right shoulder back. Turn the head. So this twist, for many of us, points out some constrictions in the body that interfere with the fluidity of the breath. So breathe as deeply and as fluidly as possible. Inhale, release, come back to center. Exhale, both legs out straight. Take a breath. And then the second side, so bend the left leg in, take the right leg out to the right, 45 degrees or so, turn the inner thigh and the inner knee down. Hold the left leg with the left hand, stretch the right arm up. Tip the left knee in, I'm even lifting my heel here to do that. And then as you exhale, wrap or take the arm across. So it's the exact same position of the arm. It's either inside or outside the leg. Spin your right rib around against your thigh as best you can. And then maybe put your left hand on your torso, or maybe put the left hand, so then you just keep the upper arm in this position and you walk the left hand to the inside, right hand to the inside of the left leg. You take the left arm behind you. And now the twist starts from the internal rotation of the right leg. So as you internally rotate the right leg, bring the left foot down. Lengthen the left side of the torso, right side of the torso against the left thigh. And keeping the left knee upright now. Take your head back. Twist the torso to the left. Breathe. Soften the constriction as best you can. Long, slow, steady breaths. One more breath. Or two. And inhale, unwrap. Come back to center. Exhale, both legs straight. Take a breath. Off of the support that you're sitting on. And then we're going to move toward a pose called Kurmasana, tortoise pose. And there's many stopping points here along the way, so you're just going to stop at whatever position makes sense for you. So bend your knees, place your feet on the ground, and take the outer hips. Turn your feet out a bit. And then lengthen the front of the torso as much as possible. Really breathe into the upper chest here for a moment. Descend the shoulder blades. So we're going to work on stage 1 of this pose. There's multiple stages. So lift the feet, the soles of the feet off the ground and come onto the backs of the heels. So part 1, which we're all going to do, is take your arms inside your knees, just like the happy baby pose at the beginning, and then thread your arms underneath your ankles and catch the outside edges of the feet. So the palms of my hands are more at the soles of the feet. And then squeeze the knees into the arms, lift the chest. Here, where you were, or you could just slide, walk the heels out away from you and come forward. If you're in the process of coming forward, keep the knees squeezing in so you're actually internally rotating the legs and the arms here. Reach out through the base of the big toes. So if you're quite far forward, at some point your arms get in the way. So then wiggle your torso through and stretch your arms straight out to the sides. Let the fronts of the shoulders roll forward and stretch the legs straighter, lightly pressing the inner knees down onto the upper arms. Extend the front of the torso and maybe bring your forehead or your chin to the ground. A breath or two. Then bend the knees, drag your heels toward your hips just a little bit. Unwrap your arms. Stretch the legs straight for a moment. I forgot to say, because I'm automatically in that position facing you, is that you might want to move so that your heels are on the floor, and then you have more slideability. The mats can be sticky, and then you kind of have to walk, and it's a little more awkward. So we're going to do it a second time. So it's not about coming forward. It's not about how far forward you come. This is really one of the benefits of this pose is it creates a lot of width along the upper back, and because the front body is relatively compressed, it forces the breath to move into the back of the body a little more. It's one of the places we don't fully breathe, and so we're doing it more to access the breath. Bend the knees. Place the feet on the ground as wide as the outside of the hips, and let the feet roll open a bit. Then come onto the backs of the heels. Take the torso forward in between your legs and really walk your arms and your torso through your legs as much as possible. So you're trying to get your upper arms, the tops of your upper arms kind of at your knees. Thread your hands under the backs of the shins and catch the outside edges of the feet. Then you can just simply pull with your hands a little bit and lengthen the front of the torso. And this is a great place to stay, squeezing your arms in. Then feel the breath move into the back, especially the back lower ribs. And maybe also get a little bit of the breath in the upper chest. If you're going forward, slide the feet out. Squeeze the knees in, that's most important. And then maybe release the arms to the sides. The knees in, fold the torso down in between the legs. Keep squeezing the knees in. And turn the inner knees down into the upper arms. Lengthen the front of the body. Bring your forehead or your chin toward the ground. And take a couple of breaths here. Feeling into the back ribs. In the back of the shoulder blades. Squeeze the knees in, most important. And then drag your heels in toward you. Release the arms. Inhale, come up. Stretch the legs straight. Notice your breath. Taking support for the head. Lie on your back. Bend your knees, push your feet on the ground. So we're going to do a supine twist and then bridge pose and a little bit more breath work. So now lift your hips up with your knees bent, lift your hips up, scoot your hips to the right. So you come to the left side of the pelvis in the back. Then simply letting your right shoulder lift, drop your knees over to the left. And place your thighs so that they come straight up. And bring your shins perpendicular to your thighs, so you're at a 90-degree angle. Stack your right knee directly over your left knee. And then keeping the knee stacked, so I'm going to use my left hand to hold my right knee in place. Twist the torso from left to right. So here the right shoulder is not on the ground. And as you, or for most of us it's not, as you twist, bring the right shoulder toward the ground. You can simply stay here, right hand on your ribs or on your hip or wherever is comfortable, or you can stretch the right arm out. If the right arm is out, turn it so that the palm is up. Now, as best you can here, breathe into the upper part of the chest. Keep the lift in the upper part of the chest. Exhale, twist. Make sure that the lower back is curved and the spine is moving toward the front of the body. One more breath. And then placing the feet on the ground, lift the knees up. Pause. And then the second side. So Lift your hips up, shift your hips to the left. And then letting the left shoulder lift. Drop your knees all the way over to the right. So thighs perpendicular to the hips, shins perpendicular to the thighs. So you're making a 90-degree angle. Stack your knees. Keep your left knee directly over your right knee. Arch your back so the spine is moving into the body. And then twist the torso to the left. Roll the left side of the ribcage toward the ground and maybe stretch the left arm out. Keep the spine moving in. Again, breathe right up into the upper chest. Two more breaths. And then inhale, come back up. Place the feet on the ground. Remove the support behind your head just for the moment. We'll do a couple of bridge poses, but first with the knees bent and the feet on the ground, just stretch the arms to the sides. Tuck the tops of the shoulders under and rotate the entire arms so that the palms face up and your thumbnails come down toward the ground more. And keeping that rotation in the arms, feel how that supports the lift in the very upper half part of the chest. And take a breath in there. Place the heels in line with the sitting bones. Point the toes straight out away from you. Now, keeping the arms here, inhale, lift the hips up. Scoop the tops of the shoulders under. Rotate the upper arms out. And then lift the chest, lift the hips. And as you push into the heels and lift the hips, use that to roll the center of the chest toward the chin. Now bring your elbows a little closer to you, bend the elbows and point the fingers straight up. Push the tops of the upper arm bones down firmly. Lift the chest. One more breath. Exhale, slowly come down. Breathe. Maybe walk the heels a little bit closer to you if that's available to you. You can either now hold the sides of your mat with your hands or catch the backs of the heels or maybe the fronts of the ankles. Wherever you are, press the tops of the upper arm bones down. Press the heels down. With the toes pointing forward, inhale, lift the hips up. Scoop the tops of the shoulders under. Press the tops of the upper arm bones down. Press the heels down. Lift the hips up. Roll the upper arms out. So the biceps, top side of the upper arms, turn out toward the walls at the sides. And then use that to lift the upper chest toward the chin. One more breath. Knees point straight forward. And then exhale, slowly come down. Take the support again for behind your head. And take the feet maybe a little further away from you, a little bit out to the sides, drop the knees together. Feel the weight even across the back of the pelvis and the back of the ribs. So we're simply going to ask the breath to move in this orientation. A 9 count inhale, a 9 count pause, a 9 count exhale, a tiny little pause, a 9 count inhale, a 9 count exhale, 9 count hold, a 9 count exhale. So we're gonna start with like a 5 or a 6 and then go up to 9. And if that doesn't work for you, you stop anywhere that makes sense. You don't wanna do breath work in a way that's forceful or adds a lot of tension, because we're actually wanting to free the breath and to allow us filled with tension. So you can place your hands wherever you want. You don't have to think about the breath moving in any direction. All you're doing is kind of like lengthening it and maybe thinning it out a little bit so that it can extend into a longer count. And of course, if my count, you can make the counts faster or slower. If my count doesn't work for you, please do your own. So, jaw relaxed, eyes really soft, face soft. Little curve behind the lower back, up away from the ground. Hands relaxed. So we'll start with like a 5 count. So exhale in preparation. Inhale for 5. Hold for 5. Exhale for 5. For 6, if that's possible. Hold for 6. Exhale for 6. Inhale. Hold. Exhale for 7. Inhale 8, sorry. Hold for 8. Exhale 8. Inhale for 9. Exhale 9. One more like this. Inhale for 9. Hold. Exhale. Let the breath return to normal. Observe the breath. We're going to do 2 cycles of a different count. This is more challenging for many people, so if it works better for you, just do 2 more rounds of whatever count you're working with, maybe the 999 or 888 or 777 or whatever. Do that. If it works to inhale for 4, hold for 16,
exhale for 8. That's the next stage. So that means we inhale a little more fully so we can get the whole breath in a 4 count. Hold a long pause and then slowly let it out for 8 count. So we'll just try, see how it goes. If you're feeling like you're gasping for breath, just let the breath settle and take a couple of natural breaths and leave this for another day. Otherwise, softening the jaw and the eyes, exhale. Inhale for 4. Hold, 16. Jaw soft. Halfway. Slow exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. Hold, 16. Halfway. Slow exhale, 8. Last one. Inhale for 4. Hold. Exhale for 8. Let the breath return to normal. Shavasana. Hopefully, simply stretch the legs out straight. Let the legs roll open. Take the arms to the sides and turn the arms so that the palms face up. Or bend the elbows and place the palms down. Just make sure you've got width across the top of the chest and that you've erased all of the remnants of the internal rotation work in the upper arms that we did earlier in the practice. It's not going to be a long Shavasana, so settle really well, quickly. And let go completely. Completely relax the body. Completely relax the breath. And simply watch the breath wash through you. Inviting the breath to move fully, freely, but also softly and with length. And feel the prana, the life force energy held in the breath. Enliven every cell of the body. Gently deepen your breath. And then breath in. Bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. And then supporting the head with the right arm as needed. Roll to your right side and pause on your right side. And then pressing down with your left hand, bring yourself up, come to sit. And then sitting well, join your hands together at your heart. Close your eyes. And in gratitude for each breath, for the life force that it brings to the body, and to the connection that it brings for that invisible force that moves the breath through the world and through each of us. We'll seal our practice with one Om. Take a breath in. Thank you. Namaste.